Welcome to our audience for this session or in a series which we've called AI Beyond the Hype, the goal of which is to demystify the application of Gen AI by discussing with companies what they're delivering now to their clients, which are achieving measurable, tangible benefits for them. My name's John O'Connell. I'm chairman and founder of Scale Up Group. We obtain funding and invest ourselves in high-tech growth businesses, such as the one we're going to hear from Greg now. So, Greg, perhaps you'd be kind enough to introduce yourself and your business and what you're currently doing with it.
Thanks, John. Very kind. My name's Greg Wildisen. I'm one of the co-founders of Panoram. My background is I was actually trained as a lawyer many years ago. I've been in legal tech now for about 25 years. A lot of that time was spent in electronic discovery, which actually has a great background in AI already, and I'll probably come to that a little bit later on. So that was more traditional AI. I then moved into a more AI-based dev platform called Logic. I was with them for a number of years. And then about 4 years ago, started Panoram. And so my AI background is about 10 years now, I think, roughly. We started Panoram originally as a GenAI software specialist business. We started building that platform about 4 years ago. And it's all about integrating business and legal. That was always the original idea. We focused originally very much on the Office of the General Counsel, concentrating on contract management and matter management, legal ticketing, that kind of thing, because that was the big pain point at the time. And now we've moved more into now basically integrating a whole new Gen AI platform, which I'll kind of go into in more detail, I think, as we move on. There was a really interesting time, obviously, with COVID, because we started in about 2020. Interesting time very shortly afterwards when everyone was locked up in their houses. And so as that happened, we really moved the platform into Microsoft Teams originally. And that was because Teams became the modern workplace. So it's been a great journey. The focus now has changed into Gen AI, as I said. And as we've done more work in that, what we've really found is that we believe that business is at the beginning of a revolution created by Gen AI. We call it the professional revolution, because I think it'll redefine how professionals deliver their expertise, both internally and externally. And whereas early AI or traditional AI was all about numbers and big data, generative AI is all about words and context. And there'll be no profession affected more than legal because, of course, words are the very tool of the lawyers. So, we see a future where legal expertise will be made available through Gen AI platforms to businesses and business users anywhere, anytime. And fundamentally, where Gen AI will perform mundane legal tasks and replace those humans that are doing fundamental legal tasks now, and replace it with technology. So it's a very exciting time to be in this kind of business.
Legal does seem to be a fertile ground. I know that quite a few firms are getting funding, but we'll come back to that. So digging a bit deeper, Greg. You say you've been specializing now in a number of years, which maybe makes you a veteran of the AI world. So far, what measurable benefits have you seen? You've mentioned time saved on more straightforward legal work. So I guess that translates into pounds. Is there more to it than costs, time savings, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. In fact, yeah, definitely, certainly for our clients, it's probably worth looking at at both traditional AI and Gen AI a little bit in terms of that context, because the obviously benefits is what everyone is always after. So back in kind of 2013, the traditional AI that was brought into legal was what we called it back in those days, TAR, Technology Assisted Review, or CAL, which was continuous active learning, and that was kind of NLP, right, natural language processing, and that AI was all about reducing or bringing to the front of the queue those documents that were relevant to be reviewed in litigation, in compliance, in regulatory reviews, etc. And that technology was really about reducing the amount of time it took to do those document reviews and bringing the legal costs down. So already then you could see that the technology was being used to try and lower costs. And again, looking more at the kind of paralegal side of things rather than not the high end, legal opinion, contract review stuff, but much more the kind of more mundane side of the business. So we could see that happening already. And the key now is, I think, with generative AI and large language models, LLMs, is that there's just a fundamental leap in the capability of that technology. So, when you look at what CAL and TAR could do, and you look at what Gen AI now can do, is a fundamental difference. And I think it really signifies, to some extent, the end of human review at scale. I think in 5 years' time, humans simply won't be reviewing documents at scale for those kind of tasks anymore. Will that happen in 1 year or 2 years? I'm not sure, but certainly in 5 years' time, we'll look back and humans won't be doing those tasks anymore. So regarding measurement, I suppose, because that's ultimately what it's all about, I think it is fundamentally, with legal, number one is always accuracy, right? It has to be accuracy. The technology that you're using has to be defensible. It has to be, and it has to be accurate to a level where you can say, hand on heart, it's doing at least as good a job as the humans can do.
Yeah.
And so there's a statistical measurement that we use in the industry called an F-score, and the F-score is a balance between precision and recall. So it's important to recall in the sense that all of the documents that contain, or as many of the documents that contain relevant information are retrieved. And then precision is making sure that of those that are retrieved, not too many contain irrelevant information, right? So it's about getting the balance between having them all and having only the ones that you need. And so the great thing about running a platform as we do at Panoram is that we actually test all of the LLMs. We're agnostic. We don't care which LLMs our end clients want to use. We run all of those LLMs against controlled data sets and different use cases. So depending on whether you use an LLM to do, say, a DSAR review or a litigation review or a cyber incident review, we have measurements against each one of the LLMs against each one of those use cases, because of course not every LLM does everything exactly the same. So it's very important to understand which one you're using for which particular use case, and then making sure that as using it or a combination of a number of them, you get the most accurate result. And everyone thinks, of course, that the gold standard is human review, because humans are expected to get things 100% right. But of course, everybody knows, and statistically it's been proven, that actually human accuracy rates are somewhere between 0.65 and 0.75. Humans get tired, they make mistakes, they lose interest in what they're doing. And when you do a big scale review, human accuracy rates very rarely go above kind of 0.75 on an F-score measure.
That's very interesting how you deliberately segment different large language models for the most appropriate applications. Because up to now, there's tendency to think it's one size fits all, but you are obviously differentiating one from another.
Yeah, you'd be stunned at how different the results are for different
Mm.
LLMs. And some LLMs are very good at specific things and really not very good at others. And so choosing the correct one for the use case that you're using, or that you're currently running the tech on, is very, very important.
Mm.
And actually, what is also important, and a lot of the research that we've been doing, is around using multiple LLMs for one case. So using some to ensure that you get very high recall, and then others to make sure that you then get the precision right. A combination of which gives you a much better F score
Well,
than necessarily just using a single LLM. And the other thing that's interesting, of course, very recently with the introduction of new LLMs into the marketplace, we don't see that as a challenge or as a problem. We see that as an opportunity, because actually, as new ones come into the market, we simply plug them into the platform, bench test them, and see exactly where they are against the previous ones in the marketplace. And I think that's really important. You don't want to get necessarily in your whatever tech you're using, you don't want to get stuck just with one, because there is so much money being put into LLMs at the moment that they just continue to get better and better, and you want to make sure that you can access the best technology at the best price, whenever you're doing that work.
wow, that's very insightful of you. I mean, that's quite an obligation on yourselves to keep abreast of all these things and compare one with another. Does it make your applications a bit more expensive because you're using more than one LLM for the same application?
No, so what it means is that, I mean, yes, you have to be absolutely diligent in terms of running. So we have a thing that we call the matrix, and in the matrix we have each of the LLMs recall and precision scores, their speeds of processing, cost of processing, which is obviously an important part of it. But also things like the jurisdictions, because not all LLMs are available in each of the jurisdictions. So that we have a whole array of information against each of the LLMs. And every time a new LLM comes, obviously we add that to the matrix, if you like. There are some clients that simply say, we only want to use this one, right? This is all we're prepared to use. Fine, right? They may have done their own research. They may have, however it is they've come to that decision. That's completely fine. But what we do is give them the opportunity to use others if, they may have a particular project where recall is less important than precision. If that's fine, we can give them that kind of balance and say, okay, on that basis, you could do it this way or that way, and it's and we can show them empirical results as to why they should make those choices.
Well, that's, I'd have thought, extremely helpful to them. What challenges have you had with your clients to, persuade them that this thing works and it's not, make things go backwards, or be it also the point you've made right at the beginning about replacing so many people? That can sound a little bit scary as well.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a great point, and I think at the moment with AI, there's a real bifurcation in the marketplace. So there's kind of the world of AI agents and AI co-pilots. So that kind of world of AI, and I think there's a lot of hype in there about AI and what it's going to do. And I think most of those types of technologies, Gen AI technologies, are all about making lawyers an hour a day more efficient. And that's great. Although, in our view, I'm not quite sure how you get the ROI from that, because, is it that who gets the benefit of that hour of efficiency? Is it the lawyer gets extra holiday or extra time off work, or does the client end up getting that benefit, or is the law firm get that benefit in higher fees, or more fees on that's kind of that whole world is kind of being worked out right now. We're all about AI at scale. And at the scale end, what we're looking to do, and what we are doing, is replacing the kind of lower end human elements, if you like the review elements, that ultimately most humans don't want to do anyway, right? So, for example, the DSAR models that we've got now, the interest in the DSAR models is higher than some of the other models, and the reason is most lawyers don't like doing DSARs, right? That's not actually that they haven't gone through law firm to do DSAR review. That's through law school to sit and do DSAR reviews. So,
sorry, Greg, for the non-lawyers in our audience out there, you said D-Star?
DSAR, so data subject access request. So it's a very specific
okay.
piece of compliance that needs to be done. But you're really not, the review work that has to be done is not highly technical, but it is work that needs to be done, and someone needs to do it. And so that is a kind of an area where actually, you mentioned lawyers maybe being a little bit nervous. I think it's one of those areas that lawyers will say, well, we're happy not to have to do DSARs, so happy to have technology to do that. And the other area that I think is really important and we're really focused on is cyber breach. And the reason there is that the work that needs to be done is to identify privacy data within and financial data and credential data within a data set. And of course, that work, if you're getting humans to do it, is incredibly time consuming and therefore incredibly expensive. But it's, again, I would put it on the mundane side of things, right? It's not looking through a contract and trying to work out the intricacies of a contract. It's merely trying to identify, names and email addresses. And it's the kind of work that Gen AI tools are incredibly good at doing.
Very good. Now, the Financial Times recent article, which I know you're aware of, said that there were 4 major considerations when contemplating what may or may not be suitable for AI. And the 4 they said were complexity, frequency, number 2, interconnectability, number 3, and the cost of getting it wrong, number 4, which I found extremely helpful in giving some context to it. What are your thoughts on that?
So I think it's a really thoughtful article. I think it's really well written, and essentially they kind of say that Gen AI is best used where the problem is at scale. So that's the frequency thing, and of course we would agree with that. And it also has to be able to be done in a standalone environment, if you like. So the interconnectability piece, I think it's well aligned with the capability of the technology, and therefore not too complex. And again, that's kind of more the mundane versus the very kind of intricate, legal work that a lot of high-end lawyering is about. And that the risk of error can't be catastrophic. And I think that's absolutely true as well. So I think just to build on that, I think there is a cost issue that I think is also really important, that probably they haven't focused terribly much on in the article. But ultimately, if the solution that you're going to use isn't going to be cost effective, so if the cost to deploy the technology was more than using humans, probably we wouldn't do it. But on the assumption that it is going to be more cost effective, and that the quality of the output is sufficiently high. And again, back to that accuracy thing, I think the accuracy thing is really critical, especially in the legal context. And I imagine it's the same in any context, right? In medical, of course, just because the tech can do something doesn't mean it should do, unless it can prove that it's at least as good as, if not better than, the humans that it's fundamentally augmenting or replacing, depending on the use case. So I think they've got it right. I think taking into account the cost effectiveness of the solution, I think absolutely. I think it's I think they've got those points well outlined.
Yeah, very, yes, it certainly helped me in my understanding. You've touched upon the respective merits of different platforms. I'm not going to embarrass you by asking you to say which are best for what, because it may also be redundant in a month or two when new versions come out. But your business is growing fast, I believe, and I'm just interested to know what your plans are for the future, near term and longer term.
two bits there. First of all, competitors, and as you say, I'm not going to speak too much about competitors, except to say that I think that bifurcation point's important, right? There is the kind of AI market noise, which is all around AI agents and assistants and so on. And I think that noise will continue, but I'm sure the hour a day back in your day, if you like, as a lawyer, I'm not sure that's where the real ROI is. I think the real benefit is still at AI at scale, and what we're looking really is at the use cases around that, right? Trying to help out in scenarios and use the tech in scenarios where there's volumes of documents that need to be gone through, and information either needs to be extracted, or it needs to be risk analyzed, or it needs, whatever the actual use case in and around that volume. I think that is where the real benefit is moving forward. I think it's interesting that on the agentic side, there's a lot of very high valuations, which I'm sure you will have seen in your world. And I think the real evidence of business impact is yet to be seen on a lot of that stuff. So let's wait and see. And I think it'll be very interesting as time drives on. I think there's a fair bit of fear of missing out on the investments on that side. So we'll see what happens. I think in terms of what we're looking to do, as I said, we're all about AI at scale. We're all about accuracy. Our drive is to get to an F score of as near as to 1 as we possibly can, because I think that's actually what we're with the techniques that we're doing. It's all about getting to the highest level of accuracy, because ultimately that's what makes our industry feel comfortable. If the tech is that accurate, then there's just no reason not to use it, obviously, on the basis that it's still cost effective. And we're really looking at the use cases that will bring that combination together. So it is around regulatory review. It is around, and certainly around cyber. I mean, cyber is a massively growing industry because there's so much cyber breach that's happening on a daily basis. It's just increasing on an annual basis. So I think a lot the use of the tech in that area, I think, is really positive. And more and more we're going to see, actually, interestingly, because we work on legal because that's our background, but actually the platform has got the ability to do this work in other industries as well. So we're also excited about the future. We're focused on where we are right now, but we're excited about the future of where else the platform can go, because I think there's problems out there that just haven't even been identified yet that the platforms like this can solve.
So initially, as you are now, you're focusing on the market you know best, the legal, but cybersecurity sounds like your next one, or maybe in parallel. Of course, that all takes resource, which equals money. So I'm assuming that you'll be fundraising in due course. And where do you think the main areas, geographic areas, might be for your expansion? Will you primarily still be a UK-focused business, or not?
Yeah, we certainly. So at the moment, we're working very much with UK law firms. When I say UK, of course, lots of UK law firms have offices globally, but we're focused here in the UK. We're working with some very big insurers. And actually, what's interesting is that they are asking us already now to become available over in the US, that bed down here in the UK and then go to the US. So I think, it's certainly our plan right now that we will be working here, but also growing into the US in the near future. And for that, you're right that we will be raising capital. So we want to continue to work with the law firms that we've been working with here, and the corporate legal departments, the cyber insurers, etc. And we want to also try and find investors who believe in the vision that we have and are interested in a kind of a GenAI future, at scale.
Yeah, and I know you know this world relatively well, actually, Greg. So where would you put yourselves now in terms of fundraising? In the seed level, Series A level, Series B level?
I think we're we're right on the border between seed and Series A, and that's it's a slightly tricky place to be. But our aim is to just do a little bit of seed now, last bit of seed now, and then to be at Series A probably within about 12 months.
Yeah, well, we certainly, as you know, look forward to working with you on that. Such a fast-moving world. It's one senses this window of opportunity may shut or change so completely that I think it's really important, isn't it, for you to establish yourselves in some high-profile clients with those tangible benefits as you've described. If you can make an entry into the US dragged along by clients, that is clearly the least expensive way of doing it, rather than jumping in virgin territory and starting from scratch.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that so in discussions at the moment with some of those clients, that the size of their, for example, in the cyberspace, because it is critical, the size of their cyber insurance practices in America are 10x what they are here.
Yes.
So it becomes a real scale up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Well, the very best of luck with that. And any final thoughts, reflections, Greg, before we close?
Yeah, just look, I think I've been in this industry for quite a few years. I've been in tech for, again, so legal tech for a long time. And I think I would just say that I think I'm super energized about what is happening with Gen AI, and I think it is really, really exciting times. And there's been so many attempts, I think, to get more tech into legal, and it's taken it has been a difficult road in some senses. I think we are at the precipice of an absolute fundamental change, and it is. I think everyone will look back in 5 years' time, and it just go, okay, it finally happened. It's really exciting.
Yeah,
So
it's happened.
it is exciting times. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, great. Fantastic. Well done what you've achieved so far. And
thank you,
your
John.
ambition, I think, is well founded, and wish you all the best with it. And thanks for participating today.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Greg.